No one really likes the dentist, so we may as well like each other. The mission of Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect. I am so thrilled to have a special guest with me that you are going to meet shortly, a brand new dentist, Dr. Tevin Moreno, who started a dental practice right out of dental school, took high-level Implant C while in dental school, and he's going to share his success and stress as a new dentist, a new practice owner, a new dentisting human striving to figure out this wild and wacky dental world. I encourage you, if you are here on Zoom, I'm so impressed how many people are watching it on a Sunday. Please ask your questions in the chat. If you are listening to this on demand, just shout your questions at your phone and I'll hear them some. Just kidding, I will not hear that. Text your questions to 215-543-6454. Throughout this program, you're going to get so many free resources. And the best one to get right now is to text how to 215-543-6454. And we'll give you a 5-part video series on how to not mess up buying your first dental practice. You saw there in my second dental practice, I made many mistakes that I now put as $100,000 worth of mistakes. I'm a 46-year-old at the time of this recording, and I would have $100,000 more if I did not make these mistakes in buying my second dental practice. So I hope you learn from my mistakes. Text HOW, the number 2 to 215-543-6454. If you're looking to hire an associate, dentistjobconnect.com can help you. Text hire to 215-798-9897. If you need a job, I have found it is nearly impossible to pay back your loans, provide food and shelter for yourself, create the greatest emergence profile the world has ever seen without a job. We have open positions on Dentist Job Connect. We are connecting dentists daily to find the job of their dreams and avoid the job of your screams. So text job to 215-798-9897. In my studies, I found that 114% of dentists and dental students love free stuff. So here comes free stuff. I recommend you take a screenshot of this because we're going to go by fast. But if you would like a free C course on making Class 2 composites less annoying, using the BioClear method, taught by one of my favorite dentists, an amazing dentist, you can watch it and earn C totally for free. Text CE to 215-798-9897. We just gave away 100 free pair of scrubs. We have this giveaway every quarter. It was amazing how many dentists, dental students, hygienists, and denting humans entered. To be alerted of our next scrubs giveaway from our sponsor, Fabletics, just text scrubs to 215-798-9897. If you would like a free C course on making surgical extractions less stressful, we have sweating less while extracting teeth. Text C to 215-798-9897. And one of the featured toppings today will be implant dentistry. I'm 46 years old and I love implants. Tevin is not 46 years old. He also loves implants. So implants, which I call nachos, bond us together. I call teeth tacos. Why? Because tacos break and become nachos. That joke, kind of funny and kind of true. So if you would like sponsored discounts on in-person hands-on CE, text implant to 215-543-6454. Now, I know when Dr. Tevin comes up here, we may have multiple parts with him. You're going to say, I want to ask Tevin some questions. I want to reach out to Tevin. I want to DM Tevin. I am going to help manage this because there are people watching in right now, and then we will share this recording. And I know you'll be inspired by the awesome Dr. Tevin. So if you want to get his contact information, the best way to contact him without overwhelming him, text Tevin to 215-543-6454. And I will get the best contact info from Tevin, and I will provide that for you after the show. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Tevin to our program. He can start his video. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday fun day here, Dr. Tevin. I have a
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You have a great crowd here in my home. You have a sleeping golden doodle and my awesome wife, Mrs. Nacho. She loves that name. She's excited to hear you. And we have people watching it on Zoom. So truly appreciate your time today.
No, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, no, we've been DMing, we've been talking. So what I like is I like those movies, Tevin, where we start now and go backwards. I love podcasts. I'm a guest on podcasts. I run podcasts. It's always like, well, in high school, I dreamed of being an NBA superstar, but that dream failed. That was my dream. Okay. So I like actually when we start now and we move backwards. Where is Tevin today? Where are you sitting? What are you doing? What is happening now? So let's kind of start out with where are you right now? Literally, figuratively,
Yeah.
physically, emotionally.
So I'm in the
Where are you now?
basement I'm in the basement that we call a work office of our home. I'm located in Northwest Minnesota, so we're in a town called Thief River Falls, Minnesota. It's roughly like 9,000 people, and it's probably 2.5 miles wide. It's a rural town. We don't have a lot of specialists up in this area, so you're gonna have to be. A lot of the docs here are super dentists. Gosh,
Tell me
my
now,
favorite.
how did you pick before we get favorite?
Go
This is
ahead.
why I'll interject and
Oh, and
help.
by the way, you can ask me anything you want because I know I invited a lot of my classmates on, and I know they're going to want some of the good details. You can
Sure.
ask me anything you want. I have like all the information.
Please go
Like,
into the chat or Q&A. I see people watching in, see one of my favorite Temple Dental students. I have the Dental Nachos moderator here. Not my children, the moderator, real paid moderator, Dr. Robert. So please ask questions. Now, so you told us where you are. You're in
yep.
Minnesota. How did you pick this place where you are? How did you pick on the map of all 50 states to live and practice as a dentist where you are?
Well, I'm born and raised in Minnesota, and I got into University of Minnesota and graduated May of 23. I knew I always wanted to be here because my family was here. However, where I'm at right now in Thief River Falls, I didn't know I was going to be here. I was telling you that I was going to close on a deal in central Minnesota um, on June 1st, and the deal didn't go through a week before we were going to close due to environmental inspections. I don't know if you
Wow.
know anything about, but once the environmental inspection came back, the bank was like, no, 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 no. Somebody's got to pay for this. And then it was a battle between us and the seller, and the whole deal fell through.
Wow. And this was a
Yeah.
deal just as what kind of like you're doing this as a D4. I mean, when did you graduate from dental school?
In May, I
May
like
of 2023,
10 months ago. Yeah, something
10
like
months
that.
ago. So all of this stuff you're working on your practice ownership journey
Started the
while in dental
process
school.
as a D3. I don't know what they teach in other schools, but as a D3 for us, you have a legals class. And so after the legals course, I was like, all right, I'm going to start this process. Let's start looking for locations.
And what I want to share is, and what the whole part of Dental Nachos, Dentist Job Connect, share stories of success, share stories of stress, hopefully help someone listening, learning about, hey, that sounds like me, or more importantly, that doesn't sound like me. So I want to share. I have two human beings that live in my house. They're permanent roommates. Some call them children. And I love being a dad. And I find it to be the most awesome and most exhausting thing I've ever done. And I also totally see how people live a life without having children, and they must get to do whatever they want whenever they want. So I see both sides to this. So tell us in your mindset, why were you so geared up to start a practice so soon? One of my recommendations is work as an associate, see what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like, see what you
absolutely.
don't like.
I,
You were
I didn't
geared
want
up to
to
start a practice so soon. Tell us that why.
I didn't want to work for anybody just because I had been a dental assistant in oral surgery, and I knew what numbers were coming in, and I kind of already knew what the salaries of coming out of dental school were going to be, and I was like, man, these are so good for the owner. Like, what is it? What even? And then talking to like old dentists that are retired, it seems like all the faculty that you get at the schools are these old retired guys that have been private practice owners for years. They were just going on and back and forth about really you don't need to work that hard in a rural area to produce a lot of money. Like you can start off slow and still make
Now
it.
tell
And
us
then
about the why, Tevin.
go ahead.
I literally just had coffee with a 2016 grad this morning who I was mentored in 2018. I told her not to buy the practice she wanted to buy. She showed up and she said that
Yep.
was one of the best piece of advice you gave me. She is an associate in a rural area, making $360,000 a year, ruralish area.
Cool.
Why are you? Why is the economic? And some of these questions seem simple to you. My goal is that maybe, hey, a pre-dental student listen to this one day,
Oh, for
or a
sure. Let's hear them.
D1. So if they seem simple, why is it there's so many economic opportunities, advantages to the rural area for dentists?
There's no competition. I don't spend any money on marketing, and I own my own building. So I take cash from my left pocket and put it in my right pocket when I pay myself for my monthly rent. Like the benefits of being rural, I'm the only there's five dentists in my area. I'm the only one that does endo in my area.
Wow.
I'm the only one. I bought a scope on Friday. I just got it on Friday. That's how much endo we're doing. And I only did one endo in school and then one on a typodont because the lack of endo training that you get at the
So
University of
let's pause
Minnesota.
there. So you didn't do endo reps in school, and I just was speaking with an older
Yep.
dentist the other day, and I said the tough part about dentistry, unlike basketball, I can go downstairs and practice 3-point shots, and then I can go
Mm-hmm.
play in medium age dad basketball game. So I can go shoot 23-point shots, work on my
Yep.
form, and then go play in a game and not dunk again. I'm consistent with not being able to dunk in all the games I played in. But dentistry, Kevin, it's all in game, right? Now I know we're going
Oh,
to
for
talk about
sure.
CE that feels like practice, but tell us, how did you develop your endo skills where you feel confident enough where you say, hey, I'm going to tackle this number 20, I'm going to tackle this number 30,
Oh,
when
for
you had such
sure.
limited experience? Tell us about that.
I still give a lot of free stuff away. If I do something wrong, I've broken files before. I give the end away for free, and then I'll do the crown. The zirconia crown cost me $80. Sure, it cost me an hour and a half of my time, but I always take care of the patient because I know that, hey, I should have been an associate and done a lot of these steps where I could have knocked out all these problems for somebody else's practice. But for my practice and building my own brand, I always make right by the patient because I'm going to be here for the next 20 to
I
30
like, well, I
years.
mean, there's a very interesting thing, and we're going to talk about this dynamic. And I can tell already we need multiple sessions because that's me. I'm the problem. I'm very talkative. But tell us a little bit about, I live in Center City, Philadelphia,
Yep.
and the dentist that came in this morning was so excited, and she had a list of all these restaurants she was going to, right? Because we have a plethora of some of the best restaurants, literally on planet Earth, 2 miles, 1 square mile from where I'm sitting right now. But then if I went out into a rural area of PA, I wouldn't have as many choices.
Oh,
However,
of course.
I'd show up at those same restaurants all the time. So they
Yeah.
would know me. So tell us about this dynamic of maybe, and you can reframe this if I'm wrong, you kind of being one of the only options, but then also the patients know you, right? So it's like it's a
Yes. No,
yin and
for
yang.
sure.
Tell us about that feeling as a dentist.
No, like definitely coming back to the area when I was born and raised, people know my family. They know, and I left with a good image. And so when I came back, they were like, "Oh man, thanks so much for coming back. How's your mom? How's your grandma?" Like people know me here, and so I don't sell anything. I just give them their options. And I mean, I don't know. It's that's how well it is here because my name was so strong coming back. It was
So
so
you're
strong.
part of the community. And then also, you and I joked about
Absolutely.
this a couple of weeks ago, and I run dentist job clinic, one of my favorite things to do. And the dentist this morning, she said, I left Center City, Philadelphia, because I couldn't find a job where I'd make over $150,000 a year. Now she
Oof.
makes 350 in a rural area
Yeah.
because there's less competition for jobs. One of the people in the chat said, highlight how rural practices are not all sunshine and roses when it comes to growing a team. So even in your
Yeah.
short start of this,
Oh, I have
you got the
something.
assistants, the front desks.
Yep.
Maybe this is your most frustrating, right? I'll ask you your favorite
Mhm.
in a second, but either A, you can roll this into most frustrating or add, but they said, how difficult it is with hygienists, assistants, and front desk team members.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's a very good point right now. So there's a lot of licensed dental assistants in my area, which I was able to hire and nab up, and they're grateful because they usually have to work factory jobs that they do not like and it's not their passion. However, I was able to obtain a hygienist from Kansas City, hates the area, doesn't like being here, and doesn't have the same working perspective as the people that are born and raised here. The people that are born and raised in a rural area, they work hard, they're tight with their money, and they're just workhorses. Getting this employee from Kansas City, huge clash, not the same. Everyone at the office gets paid a 3% net bonus on net production every quarter. And they see that this one particular employee is not working hard. And it creates a battle between the assistants and the hygienists. Like they don't mesh. And it's the biggest frustrating
How do
thing that
you
I'm
manage
dealing with right
as
now.
the leader, the coach, the head referee?
Yeah, putting out fires every day, man, every day.
How do you manage that battle?
Well, I mean, it's tough because you got to make both sides happy, and the frustrating thing right now is the hygienist really has me by the rope. I can't really do. I'm not gonna lie to you. My hygienist sees one patient every hour and a half. They will not go down to 1 hour. New patient exams, recalls, doesn't matter what it is.
Why is that? That seems like an
They're
unusually
gonna
long
leave.
time.
They're gonna leave. They know they can. They're gonna leave, and they
Gotcha.
told me that. So what would you do, Paul? You're
Well,
gonna
I
lose
don't.
your
I
only
mean,
hygienist?
what's interesting? It's there's a whole
It's
rock
tough.
hard place thing with this, but
Yeah.
I'm only saying this. I mean, one of the things that if anybody's listening right now
Hmm.
and wants the book that every single dental student should read as soon as possible in dentist to learn how to talk to people, it is To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. It is my favorite book. I have it on audiobook, and it talks about how to move people forward, how to motivate people, talks about all different ways of life, not just dentistry. But let's talk about your hygienist for a second here. Maybe I can
Yeah.
help. And
Oh, please.
I approach this with curiosity. ABC is always being curious. Is when I had a new associate dentist who was doing hygiene, Kevin, in a PPO practice, when at the time, she's awesome. She's still there. She goes, Paul, I want more time for hygiene, right? I need more time. I can't
Yeah.
get it done in an hour. And I said, hey, Dr. B, I'll call her this time. Here's what we can do. If I give you more time, I'm going to pay you less. She goes, well, I don't like that. I go, okay.
Oh,
If I
I've
guess
had this conversation before.
if I ask you to do twice as many prophies in an hour, you can make more money, but you're going to be stressed. She's like, I don't like that either. I said, well, how about we figure out how to make this hour work? So you can be as productive as possible. We can help as many patients as possible. It's always, if it doesn't help,
Yep.
it doesn't matter. Be proud to
Yep.
help. I'm just curious, can you motivate your hygienist to say, hey, if we do, I'm just using example, if we do 10 patients a day instead of 7 patients a day, I will share in the additional production, as part of a bonus. Are they open to that? Or they just don't want it? That wouldn't motivate
They've
them.
definitely said I want more money if I'm going to see patients every hour. And I was like, for me in this area, I've already had to pay, I think I'm $10 more than the average in my area, which I don't want to tell you because it's not even that much.
Yeah.
Like some hygienists in my area are still getting paid like 32 bucks an hour.
Wow. It's double. A lot of that's double in certain
Yeah,
areas.
I know. So my mentors are like, dude, quit being a wimp and just pay them. You're not losing any money. But at the end of the day, I just tell myself, okay, like we still made money and I didn't have to do 4 new patient exams. We're doing okay.
Well,
Look at the end.
the thing I'll share, Tevin, is it's only if it helps the patients. Everything in our practice, it's got to be about helping patients first, helping profit second, right? So
Yeah.
the way I see this in your world is an hour and a half does limit the number of patients you can help with
She
hygiene.
sees 3 to 4 patients a day because if you look at the blocks in the day, they don't line up and there's an hour here
How
and she's
far
like, oh,
out is she? How far out do you guys book for hygiene?
hygiene is booked out for 6 weeks.
So, I mean, you can always test something. One thing I'll share is I've tested things on certain days, right? So I've said to my team, hey, on this day, let's test, not guess. That's one of my things. Let's do instead of doing the 4, maybe you have a day on Tuesday where you do the 6 and see how it goes. But
Yeah.
I see that how they be frustrating. Tell us your favorite part. Someone's a D2, not even sure if they're just thinking, I don't even know if I should have been a
Oh
dentist,
man.
or a new dentist
I'll
who's
tell you,
working for you. Say, I don't even know
my
if I
favorite
like
part
this
is this.
fur. What's your favorite part?
By far, I don't know how you would indulge in all the things that dentistry has to offer if you didn't have the money to pay for them. Like all of this advanced CE with these new material, like I can buy any material I want just to try it out and throw it away, and it doesn't hurt me. If you look at my endo system right now, I've switched endo like 3 different times, and now I use like a hybridized file system. Like I just have the power and the money to do these things because I'm an owner, and I can test out what I like and what I don't like, and if I don't like it, I great.
It sounds
Like
like the
I
catchphrase from this is your favorite part is ownership gives you clinical
freedom.
and financial freedom. The F
Oh
word,
my
freedom,
gosh, it's
clinical and
amazing.
financial freedom. And
I have classmates right now that are at corporate dentistry and they're limited on what they can do because corporate dentistry will bring in a specialist, and so they're really only doing like basic things, and they feel like they're stuck. They're like, I don't like this. Like I want to do more, and it's like that's the environment they're in.
well, I want to share what you've shared there, and I talk about this at Dentist Job Connect. Anyone listening, I want to catch you guys up. I'm talking with the awesome 2023 grad, Dr. Tevin Moreno. If you'd like to connect with Tevin to ask him questions, just text Tevin to 215-543-6454. I'll get you connected. I did say when I talk about my job, Dr. Tevin, in Pennington, New Jersey, and I hired an associate, I say what this job is it's working as part of a great team with specialists in a currently out of network office with people who have your back at all times. It's a job where you're going to feel supported and you have someone in the next operatory to ask questions to. What it is not a job where you're going to be doing extractions, bone grafts, implants, and soft tissue grafting. It is not a job where you're doing endo because we bring in specialists for that. So I think you're making such a good point that the more
Yeah.
rural you're able to go, or the more need, it doesn't even have to be totally geographic. So tell us about this implant C you took in dental school. You've become almost
Yeah.
Nacho famous, where I
Yeah.
make one of my questions. Would it be
Yeah, for sure.
worthwhile? Dentist,
So
before you get into this, Tevin, why do you think I love doing what I do? And in the book, To Sell as Human, they talk about agitation versus irritation. And we're trying to agitate our patients. Hey, Mrs. Smith, if you say no thanks to scaling and root planing, cleaning underneath the gums, what could happen is in like 10 years, you could be losing your teeth. What could happen is in 5 years, you could be doing this really costly perio surgery. I'm agitating her, right? Irritating is me saying, "Hey, Mrs. Smith, you're stupid for not doing perio, for not doing skin on real plate." So I really try to agitate Dennis, right? When I say, if you're a D4, would it be worthwhile to invest $10,000 in CE? Why do you think, before you answer, why do you think some dental students and dentists, they get mad at me for asking it? They get angry. How do you expect people to do this? Why do you think that's the case?
Well, my situation is a lot different, but I'm a lot in dental school with a lot of people. I know the financial hardship. Like people are living so frugally because the cost of living in those metropolitan areas is so expensive. Like some people are like, oh, I don't even have enough money to, pay for my last couple months of rent here at the end of your D4 year, and they're asking family for money. It's so I get that they don't have any money. Like that's just a given.
I totally get that too. I kind of kindly know him say, hey, even if you don't do what Tevin did, we'll find in a minute. There's actually a lot of free options where you have no excuse because you
Oh,
can
for
listen.
sure. And I
You
took
can listen
advantage of
to
a
it
lot
on
of the
your.
free options.
What
Yeah,
did
there's
you do
tons.
that was free before you
I
get there?
did so big into in school. I did a ton of dental photography, and I loved
Awesome.
it. And it was expensive to buy the equipment, but I knew that's where I wanted to go because I wanted to do it in my private practice.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that's one of the things too is the ultimate trust factor is being able to show photos and videos of what you see in
oh
the
my
patient's mouth.
gosh, it's
So
amazing.
that, but now we'll go back to my favorite nachos. Tell us, I want your to this implant C that you took. Tell
Oh,
us
of course.
where it was, why you did it, how you got the money, and how it's helped you.
Yeah, so I learned from the implant maxi course taught by John Medicetti in New Jersey and in Las Vegas University. It's a 12-month course that preps you to be certified as an associate fellow, a fellow, and a diplomat in a certain time path. And I was looking at different CE, and a lot of students look at different CE, but I didn't want to do like a weekend course that wasn't certified. This is one of the only programs that's certified by the American Board of Implant Dentistry. And so I was like, this is it. Certification at the end of the course, modules that are, I'm flying to New Jersey or Las Vegas or New York once a month to learn for a weekend. Like it was it for me. And then learning, I've paid for implant courses outside of the maxi course, and I found that the foundation is not the same. Like I'm like Implant Ninja is really huge right now. I like Implant Ninja, but the foundation's not there. And I kind of look back and I'm like, wow, this is not as much detail as I thought, and I paid for all of his courses.
So the Minchetti part, well,
Yeah.
I know him well.
Oh, he's
2006. So now it's 18 years ago. Me,
John
John
Minichetti.
Minchetti and Matt Young were in San Diego together at a course for Zimmer. You paid for this. You're what? So you have a spouse that works or did
Yeah,
work.
John Minichetti does something special for students. He'll give you 50% off. And it's like a $20,000 course. So that's a
So
deal and a
he gave
half.
you 50% off. So even if
Yeah.
you don't have a spouse that works, would you tell
Yep.
someone sometimes like uncomfortable, there are conversations that are uncomfortable. If you
Yeah.
were a D4 and you were going through dental school and you didn't have money, but your parents supported you, would you say, hey, parents, I would like this $10,000 and I'll pay you back after dental school?
Oh my gosh, the reward is going to pay. I mean, yeah, it's paid it for itself off, you know, so many times over now. I
How did you
mean,
get the I notice, I mean, you know what's interesting, Kevin? Sometimes people are like, Paul, you post all this stuff about dental school, you must hate dental school, right? I'm like, all these stories were sent to me. I have not been inside a
oh
dental
yeah,
school a
yep,
long
yep,
time. So my stories, Tevin, come from dental students. I hear some stories of like I'm not allowed to take off. They get mad at me. How did you
oh my
manage that with
gosh.
your dental school
I was written
schedule?
up. I was written up like two or three times because the school, which is really dumb, the school didn't want me leaving the curriculum for Thursday or Friday once a month to go fly to learn implants at a different school. And I had to lie, like, oh, I'm gonna be here's a personal day on this Friday. I'm not gonna be in. And then, somebody would tell my instructor, oh yeah, he's in Las Vegas learning right now. Then I got written up multiple times. The consequences, they just take away more personal days, and you have to volunteer your time to get those back. But yeah, they hated it. They did not
What is
like it.
crazy to me about that and sad is I have never seen any business charge customers like $500,000 and kind of be so mean to those customers, right?
Oh man.
Like how dental school doesn't, I understand they need systems and I understand there needs to be regulations,
Right.
but the lack of flexibility, the draconian ways are just to me so poignant because I can't imagine another thing where you're like, here's $600,000 business. How do I get treated? not that well, right? So
Yeah, I guess
I
the
find
excuse was their bottom line excuse was you're a student here first. We come first over this. And I'm like,
and
okay.
the and part of that is I understand that the and part is figure out ways to be creative to make things happen for people that need help. And whether that's for wanting to explore other opportunities, whether that's for a learning challenge that you have, whether that's for a family tragedy. So when new dentists worry about CE, right? The dentist I met this morning, Kevin, you would love her. She invests $40,000 a year into her CE. 40,000. Okay.
I'm almost there.
And for the ones who say, "Oh, I don't have any money, I don't can't do this," what would you tell them to inspire them that it's worth it? Stretch, be uncomfortable, find the right
Oh, for
courses.
sure. I mean, like, keep in mind, I'm right out of school. I haven't learned anything advanced yet. And so when I go to these CEs, I always take a step back and look, okay, this is how they taught it in school, but they're kind of flipping the script over here and they're like showing us all these advanced techniques. Like, you just I don't know how else I would learn these things unless I read a lot of books, but I don't know how else I'd learn these things if it wasn't in person, it wasn't in my hands, I didn't get to see the material. Like, how else are you going to go?
Yeah.
You just, you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to do
And
it?
the thing I will share with you, and I was talking to her, is it also makes you less lonely as a dentist. It really it
Great.
creates relationships with people you can count on through text message and Slack and WhatsApp groups. So I like that. Now, we've talked about the rewards and challenges of where you practice. Anything else you want to highlight? Because you've been so authentic in saying, "Hey, I practice in this rural area where I grew up, but it might not
Yeah.
be easy on my family." Or someone
Yeah.
is
That
saying, "Hey, I'm
conversation that we had on the phone the other day, it's there's a challenge. My wife is from Minneapolis, St. Paul, and coming back here, the food options, they're none. The entertainment options, also none. So it was a huge life change for her. But to me, it was just, I'm going back home. And it comes down to perspective because when I told you that story about my hygienist, she doesn't like working in this area. It's because she's not from here, and we put her in water that she's not comfortable with. But
yeah,
me, this is all I know. I didn't like living in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Because it wasn't. I didn't grow up there. It was different.
yeah." So
So
what do
it's
you think?
it's strictly perspective.
How would you talk to a dentist or dental student who's in the middle, right? They didn't grow up there, but they don't have to be in Center City like me. How should they explore this? Should they get an Airbnb and live there for a week and see if they like it? Should they get an associate job first? There's these massively awesome
Yeah,
economic opportunities.
it'd be
Uh,
tough. I wonder if they could explore nonprofits in rural areas to get a real gauge for it. Because at least in Minnesota now, non-covenants are no longer enforceable, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult. Dentists are not going to be hiring associates in rural areas just because they can leave at any time and there's no consequences now. That was a July 7th of last year. Yeah, it'll be tough for sure. If you're not from here, holy cow, I could not imagine.
What I think
But
would be
to
kind of cool is maybe dental students during their dental school times when they're off could see if they could shadow a rural dentist and stay in an
yeah,
Airbnb
yeah,
and like see if they like the ins. I always say you're inside the operatory and outside the operatory life both have to be successful. You can't make $500,000 a year and be lonely and miserable, and then you
yeah.
can't make $100,000 a year hating your career but having a fun outside the operatory life. That balance needs to be struck. Couple questions before we go back to our questions. So someone said, "How many implants did you place the Maxi course?" And one of the reasons I chose not to do it was because they only had one surgical day and placed only two implants. I'm a hands-on learner and I needed more real life situation. Did you feel
Yeah, for
comfortable?
sure. So keep in mind, I was only a D4 while I was in the course, so I didn't get to participate in any of the live surgeries. But one thing that was more important is the foundation that you're going to get from the course is so much stronger than just going out and placing them. Because in February, I started 9 implant overdenture cases. If I didn't have the foundation to look at every case by case, I don't think I would have been able to do it. Placing the implants isn't difficult. It's the treatment planning
Yeah.
and the workflow. If you don't know the workflow, where are you gonna start? If they're edentulous, how are you gonna start? Or if they're partially edentulous, again, how are you gonna start? I don't think you're gonna get that in a weekend course. It's just not gonna happen.
I
Once
love
you learn
I, lo-
once you learn how to place implants, that's not the hard part. It's everything around the foundation about implants that's difficult.
that's gold. I want my nacho team to pull that out because placing implants, as someone who's placed many implants myself, an implant is like a giant post placed in bone that's way more forgiving than a post in a tooth, right?
Yeah.
I wrote a whole Dental Town post on this once, top 10 reasons why placing an implant is easier than doing a post and core. The and part to that is the treatment planning is the key part, and getting the
Oh, it's
implant
so
in the wrong
difficult.
spot. I want to remind everyone, if people just text implant to 215-543-6454, they will be registered to get all of our Nacho discounts on hands-on CE, from courses in Colorado to courses in Utah to courses overseas. So really appreciate you sharing
I just
sharing
want
it
to
with us.
share this book with you. This is Carl Misch's fourth edition of Contemporary Implant Dentistry. Essentially, it's a tank of a book, but I essentially read the entire thing and I'm rereading it. There's so much knowledge in that book, but I don't know how you can get there if you're not going to put in that amount of time. It just takes so much time.
Yeah, dedication has to be there. I appreciate you sharing the book. And also, you don't have anyone to bail you out. So you have to be,
No, not at
you
all.
have, in many areas, if you have a good relationship with specialists, bailing someone out doesn't even have to be dramatic. It could just be like, hey, I planned this case. There wasn't enough bone. So you do it,
Yeah,
oral surgeon. But if there is no oral surgeons, you just disappoint
yeah.
the patient. Now, it doesn't mean you get in over your head just to make a patient happy, but that balance is key. What should a D3 do right now to prepare for the real world? So someone's a D3.
What do they want to do? Do they want to be an associate or do they want to be an owner?
How about this? Let's take this off to a different topic, and I want my Nazi to pull this out. I'm talking with Dr. Tevin Moreno, 2023 grad who took high-level CE while in dental school for implants, has started his own dental practice. We'll talk about the numbers in a minute, but is on track to collect over $100,000 this month. I want to just talk about in the operatory confidence, competence, not crying inside. I'm not talking about you as an owner. I'm not talking about you at P&L. I'm just saying when you walk into an operatory, so you can feel as good as possible, so you can feel like you can deliver for a patient, so you can feel like you can lead your dental assistant in that operatory. What would you tell a D3 to do right now? Associate or owner? Stick with associate. They want to be
To
an
be quite
associate.
honest with you, Paul, repetition is key for me. Imagine coming out right out of school, no associateship, and I'm doing like these difficult extractions. And keep in mind, I probably only like did maybe 20 extractions while in school. I've gotten burned on so many of them, and I've learned it's like, okay, I'm not dumb anymore. I'm not willing to do that because last time that took me 2.5 hours chasing a pallet of real number three. So I don't put myself in situations that I know are going to be failures just to please anybody. But at the same time, repetition is so key with doing, we did like, I don't know, 22 endo in February. We do extractions on a daily basis now. That has built up my confidence so much. And I don't know if I would have been able to do that as an associate.
So,
I don't know what to say, you
well, I
know?
think what you shared there is look for environments where you can get reps to
Yes.
develop your muscles, I talk about
But
your
at the
core.
same time, though, I'm in an endo master course with an endodontist in North Carolina right now. I didn't start doing endo right away because I know I didn't have the expertise. I took the course, learned things, and then I started pumping out the reps. That's what's key, you know?
Well, I love this, Devin. We're going to save more time with you, but we have a special guest, a special pop-in guest, one of my best friends who we agree on some things, disagree on other things, but we really agree on helping dentists. So I don't know if you know this guest, Dr. Tevin. He's not, how should I describe him? He's like my amazing wife. He's suspect. He doesn't always believe everything he hears, right? But when he turns and changes his mind, he is a champion of things, right? So this is Dr. Bob B, Dr. Bob D, founder of dentistry in general. He at first thought associates should never have guarantees. They should just, eat what they kill and hunt PPO class twos, right? But now he changed his mind. So he's going to talk with us for a minute, Tevin, and I want you to hear from
Absolutely.
him. So, Dr. Bob, tell us about what you think about safety net guarantees, and then tell us who you are.
Safety net guarantee. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on a Sunday morning. Paul puts you to work even on Sundays, right?
Yeah.
But daily guarantees are a hot topic, right? With the older docs, because we didn't have that safety
Yeah.
with that safety net. I mean, I literally went there and built 2 days of practice for another person. Like they were closed and like, oh, come on over here and we'll get you patients. Well, they never got me any patients. I like it now because you need to explain it this way, Paul, to these older docs. If your associate is only doing the daily guarantee, they're not going to last.
Right.
So it's irrelevant that $600-700 that you're paying them. If it's only that, you neither gonna like it. First of all, no one's gonna like it. The owners or the associate, it's not going to be enough to pay bills. That's just for saying, hey, I care about you and I'm going to cover, I got your back.
I love it. And
Right.
also, Bob, I want to share what is wrong with dentists where someone, and Tevin, you can answer, but you're not as disturbed as us because you're younger. It's called a safety net. And only dentists could be like, let's not have it. And everywhere else in life, if someone was in a situation, we go, oh, let's have a safety net. They may fall. Why is us dentists, Bob? What happened to your generation where they go, I didn't have a safety net. You shouldn't either. Maybe it should be, I didn't have a safety net and that stunk. Tell me where this mentality comes from.
So, Paul, I'm famous among my in-person friends for many years that, oh, don't start arguing with Bob because he can pick any side of the argument and debate it. So I'm going to pick that side now and talk to you about that. Here's my reasoning for not believing in, if I wanted to debate this, is that we are training young dentists to be entrepreneurs, to be practice owners. Part of that is the risk of not having patience, of sitting and waiting for a patient to come, or of trying to explain to patients what the best treatment plan is, right? These are all a holistic approach into training a young dentist to become a practice owner, right? Now, the times have changed. Now I'm debating myself now, Paul. The times have changed. People are having $500,000-$600,000 loans. These people need to be able to put gas in their cars to get to work, right? So so I don't know. Take your side.
And I want to share, Bob, also. Cool. They're training to be entrepreneurs. So cut them in on the rewards. Do these practice owners want to cut them in on the profits? They're without a safety net. So that's my fun jibe there. Well, I'm glad we've turned you. So we're going to talk about your course in a minute. You've been listening to Dr. Tevin. Any questions you have for him or anything he said that, has either inspired you or, he's a 2023 grad running a practice on his own. You and I both think, hey, go be an associate for a little bit, understand what you want and don't want. But then he's here with this, fairly spectacular story that comes with success and stress. What questions do you have for him?
It's not much of a question, but a concern that we're even talking about a D3 taking continuing education courses without finishing dental school. I mean, it blows my mind. I was talking to, I don't think she minds. I was talking to the ADA president recently, very recently. And we both agree the number one issue is not insurance. Again, I've said this and other people disagree with me. The number one issue is the high cost of dental education. And I can't tell you how strongly I believe in that the disease is the high cost of dental education. The rest, corporate dentistry, bad insurance fees, mental illness, they all are the symptoms of having this $600,000 debt.
I want to ask Tevin though, Bob, you're saying it's crazy to talk about. People say to me, just do what dental school teaches you. But what if dental school doesn't teach you enough to survive? Tevin, remind Bob, how many endos did you do in dental school and how many?
I did one endo. Yeah. I think there's a huge discrepancy with what we're talking about right now. I think you guys may be under the influence that you guys are actually taking classes during your D4 year. I think you're taking 2 courses and then you have clinical for the rest of your days. I think maybe a public health class. And then I think we did like, fixed partial denture part 3. Like we're not taking any courses our 4th year.
Yeah, so no, I'm just saying I'm shocked.
Yeah,
that dental schools are not teaching dental students. I graduated from Loyola Dental School, which is closed. Why? Because they said they couldn't continuously increase the tuition and compete, right? I mean, I did 20 canals before graduation.
I wish.
If I did 19, I had to go back after graduation and my tube was empty. I didn't get my diploma until I finished, and I paid $120 a day to finish my requirements.
Oh my gosh. Part of that makes me feel like they really want to have a strong endo residency program. So we fish everything to the residency program, and they don't you're not allowed to do a molar endo.
But
there's an exception to that in dental school.
But that's such a weird thing.
Weird,
Yes.
Bob. How about a
Yeah.
scam thing? So what's the ADA doing about it? What's the president doing about it? Complaining like us online, or going to hold the dental schools
No,
accountable?
but I want to tell Tevin is that Loyola Dental School endodontic program was headed by Frank Wine, who wrote the book. Our residency program was very strong. He stood up there and told us, when you graduate as a general dentist, you're going to know as much as endodontist in other schools. So
that'd
he
be
was
amazing.
really strong in both areas to teach to the general dentist. Dr. Linda Edgar is creating a task force.
What's the task force going to do while these 2024 grads graduate with one endo? Is there time for them to come in, or are we just going to just keep saying, oh, no problem, they'll fix it later, as people leave with totally, what do I want to call it, hollow degrees in clinical training, and just say, get out, enjoy your life? What do you think they want to do, Bob?
Paul, why are you making me angry here? Why are you asking hard questions, man?
Okay, fine. I'll stop. That was just, I know you're going to show your recording, so I just want to share it to the ADA and everyone. What are you doing about people graduating? Now, Tevin, before I go back to you, I want Bob. Him and I are friends, but we are fighting over something. We are having friction, not fighting. I'm saying I love online CE and in-person CE. I love both.
Oh,
Okay.
of course.
He has said that what I've done is I've caused a problem because I've created so much amazing online CE that dentists are not going to as many in-person courses. So Bob, tell Tevin, the people in this Zoom, the people
they're naive
on demand. Yeah, so I want to talk to Tevin about you got 3 minutes. I want you to promote your course, share why they should be there, and tell them why we're having friction over this online versus in-person.
Kevin, I don't know if you know Paul or not. He puts words in my mouth. Like, he literally misrepresented what I'm saying. Okay, here's my point. Online courses are great, but we need to also stress, to help people, we need to meet in person. I was one of the ones that I said online is the greatest, but then I started attending Paul's courses and I'm like, oh my God, I'm addicted, right? Once you attend one, you realize the difference, right? Because first of all, you're not really paying attention on the online courses anyways. Who are we kidding? I'm watching football at the same time. My whole thing is it helps people to be in person. And that's basically what I'm trying to say. We have my Digapalooza event coming up in October. And I purposely named it Digapalooza, Paul, because Digapalooza brings, or Lollapalooza brings all these great artists together, right? Take a look at the lineup. Are you going to
let's just, Dr. Tevin, I want to meet him in person. I don't think he's coming in April. So try to sell him like we sell crowns. On when is the course? What's he going to learn? Why should he tell his wife or bring his wife and his baby to Chicago and learn? Tell him what's going to happen.
Number one, it's going to be at Gibson's Steakhouse, private halls. So it's going to be a great venue. Paul's cost me a lot of money because he wants everything to be high class. It's going to be an upscale mall in the suburb of Chicago, 20 minutes from the airport. So very convenient. It's one hop from any city in the country to get to Chicago. But I don't even care about those. I could give you a lunchbox and you should come and see Lincoln Harris, Michael Melker, Art Volker, Minal Simpat, and Dr. Vijay, who is the dean of the radiology at Midwestern University in Arizona, talking about CBCTs. You tell me where you're going to go in 2 days and see 5 people
and
like
their
this.
topics. I mean, you should just do this. Even Tevin, it doesn't matter if you're a dentist of 1 year or 41 years. Dr. Mike Melkers is going to help demystify occlusion, which is a key component to success, right, Tevin? Occlusion and treatment planning.
Yeah.
So even though you love implants, would you benefit from more occlusion and treatment planning?
Yeah, I have it on my list. I feel like demystifying occlusion is a spear course. I'm not sure if it is it?
Well,
No,
it's a similar.
Panky.
It's a Panky. It's just Melkers is great. He's part of the Ripe Global team. They're sponsors of our group. But these superheroes of dentistry, from treatment planning to restorative dentistry, no matter how much additional specialty care we are done in a practice, the backbone of what we do is getting people in the right place restoratively. So, Bob, when is this going to be?
October 25th and 26th. Dr. Art Volker is going to talk about injection molding anterior and posterior composites, basically the BioClear method. Dr. Lincoln Harris is going to talk about fast, efficient crown preps, how to restore all on fours. Minal is going to talk about from connection to conversion, advertising on Instagram. and then the interpretation of his CBCT. I don't know. I brought people things that I wanted to see myself.
Well,
You know,
your menu is great. How can people reach out to you, Bob? If we get Dr. Tevin and his friends to come and have a fun time in Chicago, he can entice his wife with good restaurants, right? That he needs to entice her, right? How can they reach out to you to learn more and get the best deal possible?
dentistryingeneral.com is our website. The course is there. And then Dentistry in General Facebook group. If you're a dentist or a dental student, only you can join. But dentistryingeneral.com basically is the website. You'll see it and you click on it and you buy a ticket. And it's an early bird right now. $400 off.
Whatever team has the better record by then, the Eagles or the Niners, has to pay for Tevin's dinner wherever he goes. So we'll do that. Well, thanks, Bob, for joining with us.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Take
So
care.
Tevin, that was a fun Zoom Bob from Dr. Bob. As we wrap up, a couple of things. Even though you're new in your practice owner journey, I love this. What do you wish you knew sooner? Whether it was team, clinical, P&L related. What do you?
I was looking at that question. That's a difficult question because I'm only 5 months old, right? And so it's like, if whatever I'm wishing I'm learning, I'm learning it right now. And that's the hard part. I don't have much to look back on and be like, oh, I wish I would have did that differently. Gosh,
what adjustments are you making? Maybe that's a better question. Like I told you about the DSN, our sponsor, joining a group like that so that practice owners and dental success now, maybe adjustments.
I'm finding out, and I wish I would have did it sooner, that my dental assistants don't just like having a clinical duties. They want non-clinical duties. Like they want to get into more lab work because they're getting fatigued with seeing the same things over and over again, and they want to be useful. And so I've kind of like purchased an entire lab setup so we can do custom trays, we can do wax rims, so they can physically be good with their hands because they don't want to. I do rubber dams on everything, so they just hold the suction. They think it's so dang boring. So, they want more duties. They want to.
Where did you learn all your rubber dam technique? I'm impressed that you do that. Where did you learn the rubber dam technique?
Well, at the University of Minnesota, they do rubber dams, but I told myself there's a particular color group in the University of Minnesota. Everyone has to use a rubber dam, otherwise they don't let you move forward. And I really like that, but my color group was a little bit lazy and they didn't care if we did rubber dams. I told myself when we started, if I start this right now, I'm going to be good at it forever. Yeah. So we do rubber dams on every single patient.
I love that. That's really
every single patient. And I love it. My assistants, their backs, they don't hurt. They love it too. They thought they didn't like it in the beginning because it's so tedious to get it set up, but they're like, oh my God, I don't even have to look. I just have to hold this hose here and everything comes out every time.
I love that. As we wrap up, how do social media groups, online see other virtual resources? You are literally alone where you are as a dentist, right? You're literally alone, physically alone, and everybody wants to feel less alone. Whether it doesn't have to be the Dental Nachos Facebook group, but whether it's people reaching out to you, reaching out to them, how have these groups helped you feel less alone?
I feel like I do a lot of impressive cases for somebody who's right out of school, given I put a lot of time into doing those cases that I do. And I don't have anybody to share it with. And that's what's tough. And so I posted them on my Instagram. I'm like, please give me some feedback because I'm doing all these cool things and I want you to see I created this. But that's the hardest thing. And some specialists reach out to me like, hey, I really like how you did this, but I would have did it like this. I'm like, hey, thanks so much, because I wouldn't have known otherwise because I'm up here alone.
And I like how they approach that. Hey, there was funny. A lot of dental school instructors do demoralize dental students. I don't think they mean to do it. I just want to share that if I was not a good 3-point shooter instructor and I try to teach an 8-year-old, they'd probably cry, right? But I know how to say like, hey, this is how you hold it. But some of them just don't know. But I heard a great one say, one of my favorite instructors, when I brought them over to show them my work, they said, that's a good start, but let's move forward from there. And I thought that was nice. Say, hey, I see how you did it that way. I would do it this way. Yeah. Super Dentist Boost Camp is one of my favorite things. I've done like 10 of them. August 8th through 11th, 30 to 40 dentists who either own practices less than 10 years out or want to buy a practice soon, get together for 3 days in a camp. People can text BOOST to 215-543-6454 to apply. We help you increase success, decrease stress, and reduce crying inside. I'm not going to make you say that you're definitely coming. I want you to consider it, Tevin. But absolutely, what could I put on the menu? I'll put on the menu for your wife to go to the best restaurants in the world. I feel like that's my angle. Give me her cell phone, and I'm going to text her pictures of food from Philly. But what would you want on the menu at Super Dentist Boost Camp? So if you came to Philly invested the time and sat there, I know you're going to meet great people.
I got
I
two
know you're gonna
things
say,
for
what
you.
would you want on the menu?
So right now I really want to get into CAD CAM, but I don't have any experience with it. And then the next thing I want to get into is workflows. They don't have to be digital. They can still be analog because a lot of good things do come out of analog. And the expense to get into digital is so expensive. Those are the two things I want on my list for this year. And I honestly don't know where to get started with CAD CAM.
So
I don't even
getting
know
started
what it
with,
can do for me.
and
you
one of
know?
the things I do at Boost Camp, which I'll share with you, is like, there's about an 80% chance one of the most amazing dentists, Dr. Marcus Cowan's coming. And he's taught at Boost Camp. He's been a Boost Camper. And he's living the life you want to live with digital. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do with those is a lot of times dentists think, okay, sit down, I look at a screen, and they are going to pour into my head all the things I need, and then I'm going to go home and do them. But when you go home, life happens. So what I do is I bond you together with people who had a coffee break and or having a glass of wine or this, where you can say like, hey, what'd you buy that you shouldn't have bought? And you say, oh, I freaking bought this Omni. I know again, I'm not as
I
into
wish I wouldn't have
digital.
brought my Prime Scan. That's what I
Yeah.
wish I wouldn't have bought.
So see, that was that
Yeah.
there. Well, our bonus questions here. I want to. You've been so generous with your time. We'll have a
And one thing that I want to go over with you too, if you could, is the numbers. I think people are
Oh
interested
yeah,
in
let's
the
do it
numbers.
for sure. You have some notes. I apologize. This is our bonus guac time. So tell us. I'll leave it to you. Tell us the numbers.
So in November we started up. November 1st we did 50K in collections in November, 70 in
50K
December.
first month, 70
Yep,
December.
first month, which was a lot of days you're just seeing 2 patients a day. And then we did 70K in December, and then from January to March we've done 100 to 105.
That's amazing. What's been the unlock to go from that 50 to 100?
Oh man, I was doing new patient exams all November because every patient that came in is a new patient, right? Hey, guess what? December, you're still doing new patients because you're still trying to fill your schedule. And then boom, come January, my operative specialty columns all filled. I'm not doing new patient exams anymore. I'm producing money.
What do you think is your, and if you don't know the answer to this on this Sunday, you should think, what do you think is your limit for what you could produce on your own and still enjoy and not go insane monthly? Like what kind of capacity do you really think is
just me, not like the office as a whole?
You and the hygiene team, just like what could 105 to grow to by yourself?
I'd like to do 150 to 170 a month, but that would include 2 hygiene, seeing 1 patient every hour. And then it'd be pretty ideal. I think we could do it. And I know we could do it because I crunched out the numbers trying to convince my hygiene to see a patient every hour. But
I cannot express that one of the biggest helps I could give you is text DSN to 215-543-6454. Join that community, Tevin, and ask them those questions. Because what I'm sharing is you basically said, this is the number I want to get to.
It's doable.
I want to create systems, but to create these systems, I have to have some uncomfortable conversations with people that work with me.
Right.
And I got to put that whole thing together to do that. I think that's, I also think I applaud you for not saying, oh, I want to do 300 grand a month and produce 3.6 million. Because if you don't know that there's a limitation of what one person can do with their own 2 hands, for sure, you just need to remanage.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get hygiene to make me more money. Is what I'm trying to do. I want my hygiene to produce 2 hygiene. I want them to produce 75K a month.
How many hygienists work a day with you?
I have 1 part-time hygienist right now.
Jeez, and how many assistants?
I have 2. I'm gonna get another assistant to screen patients so I can feed them into her schedule, because it's just a battle between me and the hygienist.
And then someone said we'll do a few bonus questions in the beginning. How did you find your practice and what resources? Well, you started from scratch.
Yep. So I found a building, and initially, I had, with the other practice that we were going to close on a week before it failed, I had went through brokers. I found go on the broker website. They have practices for sale. You can reach out to them. Then you can hire your own lawyer to be your advocate. Costs money, a lot of money, actually. I think my lawyer for that deal, even though the deal didn't go through, was about $10,000. And then the deal for this deal that did go through was, again, another $10,000. They're still writing all the paperwork and contracts and red lines and correcting all these things. It's expensive. I get it. It is.
And
for this deal,
highlighting, I have on the screen right now, text Burn to 215-543-6454 to get connected with accountants, advisors, and finance planners to get make sure you get the career of your dreams, not screams. Is it
They're
important to
they're
have
your
good
only
advisors?
fiduciaries, you know?
Yeah.
They're your only fiduciary. So
And so
I
getting the right team is key for
right.
the success. Um, and the last question I'll ask is from one of my favorite people. What did you do during dental school to prepare for practice ownership and buying your own practice from a
Hope you
business
like to read
perspective?
books because I
What's
got plenty of them.
is that Brian Hanks?
Yeah, it is. Brian Hanks is a freaking just an absolute legend. Have you read Brian Hanks books
Brian
before?
Hanks is my friend sponsors. You got to
Oh
sign
my
up for
God, he's amazing.
he's speaking on Sunday, April 7th. So anyone who wants to hear Brian Hanks speak
Yeah.
about DSO or private practice,
Listen,
tell me
this
about him.
book was like $20. Brian Hanks, he details things so thoroughly. I mean, I read it in like 3 nights because it was just so juicy with details that no one talks about ever. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta buy his next book. I bought the next book. The next book number 1 is buying a practice. Book number 2 is like the systems in play for running a practice. Get the book. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Anyone who wants to be connected to Brian Hanks, please connect with us. He's an amazing sponsor, help people. I've taken up so much of your time, Tevin, but it's been awesome. I'm going to take us off of our live, but you stay around for a second. Anyone who would like to watch this recording or get connected with Tevin, please text Tevin, Tevin, to 215-543-6454.